Now, none of us really can prepare for everything. We don't know when we could find ourselves in a situation where a natural disaster strikes, where the grid goes completely down and stays down, especially for an extended period of time. I know for us here in Western North Carolina, we had that happen here after Hurricane Helene came through and completely wiped out everything around us. And so, what are some of the things that I wish we had, especially in those first 24 hours dealing with a natural disaster, an absolute crisis where everything went down and didn't come back? These would have made a huge difference. Now we're still working through the damage. We're still working to rebuild our lives and find some sort of new normal, whatever that might be, because normal isn't coming back anytime soon here in this area. But there are certain things that if we would have had them, although we were prepared for what hurricanes normally do in North Carolina, none of us were prepared for the level of devastation that Hurricane Helene brought to our sleepy little mountain town. And if we would have had these things, it would have made a big difference. These are some things that we kind of put on our list of, man, this is really going to make a big impact. We have so many amazing friends and family and viewers. You guys have helped us in so many ways, us and our local communities, to gather these resources and supplies. So the things that we've gotten and that we now have or we're working to get, that would be massive, massive just changes for surviving this disaster time, these things definitely are the top of our list. Now, the first one would absolutely be a generator of some sort. I want to clarify here. Generators are not the one size fits all savior of all the things that I know a lot of people think they are. I've gotten so many messages, so many people that are going, oh, you need a generator, that would have fixed all of it. Well, not really. A generator would have been really helpful, and I do highly recommend that we all have one on hand. Regardless of where you live, you never know when something might happen, be it from a natural disaster or something else where the grid goes down. Being better stewards, being more self-sustainable is something that is really, really important, and we all should take it seriously, regardless of how comfortable we might be in our current situations. Having a generator would have been really helpful. Now, it was difficult because for us, because this issue, this disaster was so widespread, gas disappeared quickly. Our interstate literally fell off the mountain. If you can only imagine the level of damage done here in Western North Carolina, it was very like end of the world-ish, very, just like those movies you see where all the stuff goes wrong at the same time and you're like, wow, that's crazy. That's really what life is like out here right now. And so gas really just wasn't available. So even people who had generators, they couldn't run them with gas. I would love to get a solar generator because I think that would be wonderful to have on hand. Would have been a little tricky there right after the hurricane. We had a lot of cloud coverage, and so we really didn't get a lot of sun in the first few days. Not sure a solar generator would have been the perfect fit either, but at least it wouldn't require the gas that we were unable to find anyways. And so having a generator on hand, totally worth it if you can. I have linked things down in the description box of all these different things that we've kind of put out on our wish list, that we're trying to gather, that we're trying to, pass out to people in the community and things like that as well. And so I'll leave all of that linked down below, but definitely having a generator would have been absolutely helpful. Wouldn't have fixed and solved everything, but it would have been helpful. The second thing that I thought of was walkie-talkies. All the cell phone power went out. The towers were down. Nobody could get through. The only cell phone that we had 14 people here on our property, and the only one whose phone worked the whole time was the person on Mint Mobile. I kid you not. Mint Mobile, the cheapest one. I actually, just random side note, I actually have a link down in the description that you guys can try out Mint Mobile for like a really, really super great deal. And so if that's something of interest to you, it is down there. That was the only person's phone who never went out throughout the whole process. Didn't do a lot of good though when the rest of us couldn't keep our signal. So it was like, that's fantastic, but it is really hard if other people aren't keeping signal. And so having walkie-talkies, I saw ones, I think it's called rapid radios. They apparently work everywhere, regardless of where you are. And I would love to have those. Oh my word, that would be amazing. We were able to get, one of you gifted us, and we are so insanely grateful because it made such a difference, long range walkie-talkies. And so being able to go out and about and do different things and still have a way to communicate with one another, absolutely huge. Being able to listen in on other stations and things like that, and to try to piece together what's going on, a form of communication with walkie-talkies, very, very helpful. I want to thank all of you so much for your generosity, for your prayers, and for your help. Western North Carolina has a long road to go to any sort of new normal we might find. The recovery process is honestly just showing us more and more of how big the problem is. I know even for our home here, we're trying to prepare for winter that's coming here on the homestead, while emptying out the basement and putting up new drywall and still cutting down trees and tending to so much, let alone chipping in and helping our neighbors and local community and everything that's going on. So if you would like a way to help, a way that could get to real people actually here, and I know so many of you, you're sick of giving to corporations where so much money gets funneled off to other things and not much gets to those who need it the most, be sure to check out the links down in our description. We have a place that you can make donations. We have a GoFundMe that you can add to. And we also have an Amazon list of things as they come up in need. You can purchase them and get them sent over here, and we've been distributing things throughout this whole process. All of those things are down in the description. Keep watching, keep sharing these videos. The more you do that, it really does help to support families like ours and so many here as we are continuing to come back stronger than before, helping one another out and rebuilding piece by piece, day by day. Thank you all so much. Be sure to check out those links down in the description for more ways that you can help. But truly, thank you all for your love and your help, for watching and for sharing, and continuing to pray for all of us here as we work day by day to put our lives back together, all giving the Lord His glory through it all, for every day and every provision sent. The next thing that would have been so great would have been to have a gravity-fed water filter. Now, we have a well, we have amazing clear water out here in Western North Carolina, but when the power goes out and you have no way to get that water, obviously a much different situation. A couple of you gifted us some hand water pumps, so we're working on getting those installed in our well. But having a gravity-fed water filter would have been fantastic when the storm first hit. I have electric powered water filters, but I didn't have a gravity fed one. And so trying to sanitize our water and do all of that we were collecting, obviously quite a difficult process. Being able to have one of these that you can just have out, the one that one of you gifted us, we have a link down below. It is a great deal, large capacity, works really, really well, and we're very thankful to have it. It has been great in being able to purify the water, as now we're trying to get everything back to safe levels after all of the destruction that we've had with the waterways. And so gravity fed water filter, I think that's an absolute must, regardless of where you live, to have, just in case of a massive type grid is down catastrophe that, again, you're probably not going to be expecting when it happens. The next thing I think that we all need to have on hand is some sort of fire pit. When everything goes down and you have no way to access any sort of power for anything, and again, especially for a prolonged period of time, being able to go back, just like our ancestors did, build a fire, keep it going, cook your food, boil your water, right? Do the things you need to. Having a fire pit of some sort would be so helpful. Now, we had an old burn barrel that my stepdad had actually brought us like a couple weeks before, that we just took an old like dog kennel grate and like put over top of it to give us like kind of make one for ourselves. It was a little rickety and wonky, so having an actual fire pit would have been so much more helpful. I've even linked some. We're trying to help others and just try to gather supplies that we can that are in need. Many here in the area still are going without power, or power is still kind of wonky. And so being able, there are a lot of down trees, so there is actually a lot of firewood right now. Being able to keep a fire pit on hand that you can use, that you can cook over, is really, really important. And I think, again, another one of those things that we all would be wise to have at least some of these key items in case we found ourselves in a situation, we could still take care of those like bare necessity things. And so a fire pit with a fire cooking grate of some sort, whether it was, I found one, and I'll have them all linked down below. I found one that we were looking at that would be so helpful, that kind of has the grate over top of it. You can cook right there, or just getting a little fire pit with some sort of grate you could add to it if you needed to. Absolutely important. The next would be rechargeable lights. We got some that were the solar strands of bistro lights. I love these because you can kind of wrap, kind of keep them balled up and just hang them somewhere in the house if you need light kind of gathered, being able to put them outside and spread them out. So if we're having, many of us were having to sleep outside and do things outside, cooking outside, doing all of that, being able to have the lights in the area so you could still see, definitely important. I even pulled like my solar lights from my yard. I pulled those out and put them in the house to use them in that way. Having rechargeable lights, rechargeable flashlights, anything like that. Most of us are going to have the ability to get to our car, turn it on, and recharge things. I talked about in the things I wish we would have done. You guys can go see in that video where I talk about the importance of having a charging station in your car. But being able to have rechargeable lights that you can keep going, you're not having to constantly be searching for batteries and all of that, really made such a difference in, especially that first week after Hurricane Helene hit, being able to keep, some of those tools that we needed readily available for our family's use. The next thing that, thinking about this, and man, like if we could go back and go through this all again, what would have made the difference? Well, it's fresh on our mind and we're all still going through it right now. What would have made such a big difference? A car refrigerator. I remember when these first came out, I think my grandparents had one for like long trips. They would use it sometimes periodically. I was like, man, even if you can't get a generator, even if you, don't have enough solar, to keep that charge, we would have had one of these little, they're not even that expensive. And I would love to have one to just keep on hand for emergency situations. You plug it into your car, so it's very efficient as far as running it and keeping it going. You put it on for so long to get it to the correct temperature, and then you can turn the car off. And then once it gets lower, you can turn it back on, right? And kind of cycle through it. Being able to have it looks like an ice chest that you put into the car, but you can plug it in. The one I have linked below even has like a freezer section and a fridge section. Being able to have simple things like that would have been huge. That would have made such a difference, to be able to keep at least core items cooled while you are dealing with this emergency situation. And so a car refrigerator, I think personally, would be a game changer for most all of the average households out there, right? Not all of us can have a whole home generator. Not all of us, have a way to keep a generator going or be able to collect enough solar to keep a solar one going. But being able to have a car refrigerator definitely would have been helpful. The next thing that we actually have, that I'm really excited, I'm so thankful. You guys asked for ways that you could help, and we put together an Amazon list of things that, as we're noticing things that are needed, as the community is noticing things that are really needed, we've just been adding them to that list, and you guys have been such a blessing to get on and to order those things. I will never be able to thank you all. How I really, really want to. I wish I could just give you all the biggest hugs and just cry and cry and cry, because it has made such a difference. But one of the things we had on there, and we haven't gotten it yet, but it's a rechargeable like battery bank. It has a light. It's got the like weather alert radio and all of those wonderful things on it you need, but it has a hand crank on it. And so even if the power's out, even if you don't have any sunlight, even if whatever happens, you can manually recharge its battery so that you can get that emergency radio broadcast going. You can turn on a light. You could recharge a phone or another small, rechargeable something or other. Having that hand crank charger would have been a game changer when we were first going through all of this. And so all of us should have one of those that you just keep thrown into, your emergency bag in the car or one in the house or whatever it is. Why would we not all have one of those? I mean, I think that's just one of those things that once going through all this now and thinking through these things, we're like, man, we should have had one of those. We're going to get one of those and I'm never going to lose it, because it would have been really, really helpful. Now, the next thing, I know it probably sounds kind of silly, but again, just coming out of this and stuff still going down and everything still going on, we found these. And so many of you, we've gotten a couple of them already. We're trying to collect more. So again, you guys want to check these things out, click the links down below. There is a rechargeable fan. When everything goes out and you're trying to sleep and you're exhausted and life is chaotic and all of this like horrible, horrible stuff is going on around you, and you're so worn down, and you go to lay down and it is hot and stuffy and muggy, and there's nothing you can do about it because nothing works, nothing will come on. Having a little rechargeable fan would have been a game changer, especially for that first week when everything went out. We found these and I love them so much. You can hang them, you can put them on a stand, they have a light in them, you can charge your phone or something like from it. It has multiple speeds, a little remote, it oscillates. I mean, just all this amazing stuff, and they're really, really affordable. These little fans that we found have been a game changer, regardless of what season you're in. You know, I think most of us, we love having a little bit of air moving at night when we sleep. I have kids with some sensory things, and so when they get too hot, they can't sleep and they have a really hard time. And so it's so difficult, you know, this whole power outage thing and them trying to go through it. Rechargeable fans are what is up. Check out the link down below because they are absolutely fantastic. Highly recommend. These ones that you guys have gotten us have been game changers. The last thing that I had on my list of, man, if we would have had these things right after Helene and that the first 24 hours, but especially that first week of everything being down, just totally off grid, like crash course into off grid living, an off grid shower. Bathing out of buckets and in a creek and all of this, it is not very fun. Especially if it would have been any colder than it was when this first happened. Like, we've got another cold snap coming up, but having an off-grid shower. I have one that we got from one of you all, which I'm so grateful for. It was really cool because it comes in a little bag, but you can fill it up with water, put it out, let it heat up just in the sun, let the sun beat on it, and it's got a nozzle that you can use to actually get a shower. Whether it's to shower yourself so that you can feel at least somewhat human again, it's to clean something off, highly recommend. Again, these are all simple little things that we could have like a storage box, put all of our like off-grid emergency situation stuff into, and have if something were to happen. Not that we live in fear each and every day, but the reality is we're not promised any of these things. And so you never know when something might happen, be it a natural disaster like this. Nobody out here could have predicted exactly what's happened in this. Maybe it's just something of the power going down or something crazy happening with some sort of system. Being able to have a few key items like these ones I shared here would have made a huge difference to the day-to-day life of trying to get through and deal with all the chaos that had happened, while still being able to keep up with very basic just functions of day-to-day life. So those are the things that for our family, talking about, man, what do we wish we had right then and there on day one? It's a lot of these things. There's a lot of other things that definitely would have been a great help. You'll have to leave me a comment down below. What would go on your list, right? If you were making a list of, I would absolutely want to have this in an emergency situation, what would those items be? Let me know down below. Leave me an Amazon link if you have it. Check out the links down below if there is anything that you would like to donate. There are different ways that you guys can do that. Otherwise, be sure to keep watching this playlist of videos right up here for more updates and things going on for those of us here struggling in the aftermath and chaos of Hurricane Helene. I'll see you on the next one. Bye, friends.